It's David Alara here again from Connectus, and today I'm delighted to be with special guest Jim Seretis from Biamp Australia. And Jim, I've known you for well over 10 years now.
It's been longer.
It's been probably longer. I consider you an audio expert. I mean, you have so much experience with professional audio in many different fields and industries. I know you've given me some great advice along the way, so it's great to have you here. And today we're going to be talking specifically about workplace, and even more specifically about, I guess, huddle or collaboration spaces in workplace and the importance of audio. Now, I think you've been seeing some trends in recent times in this area. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. You are right. It's a bit of a passion of mine as we now see spaces going from what we call static spaces through to dynamic spaces. And the biggest trend is we're driven by the personal devices we have, like through our phones, our laptops, etc.
Yeah.
And also the metrics of end users and customers wanting to utilise those spaces as effectively as possible.
Yeah.
So we know for a fact that the estimate is about 1 million rooms a year get refreshed. We're not talking new rooms worldwide.
Wow.
And so the trends happen that people want to move into a flexible, there's all these type of collaborative words like flexible, collaborative, huddle spaces, etc. Effectively what they are, they're spaces where people are away from their desks or their normal workplace and actually having a meeting,
Yep.
but most importantly trying to have it very effectively and naturally.
And what are you seeing is the importance of the audio in these spaces? Because quite often they're out in the open, and collaboration over some sort of a conference call environment is what people are expecting or wanting. How hard is that to achieve, or what's important for them to consider to achieve that?
As a one-on-one, we use our phones with soft codecs like Skype for Business, Zoom these days, and many other of those technologies. And on a one-to-one, it works really well with a computer or laptop or computer or your phone.
Absolutely.
But as we start to bring more people into that meeting room, we're starting to share information and have a different conference call. Typically, I call it going to mud. The audio does not really behave the way you want it to because of the physicality of the room, the acoustics, noise, and the simple fact that we've got very small microphones and speakers in the products we use that don't adhere nicely to a bigger space. So those are challenges we need to address.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have any specific maybe recommendations on how to address those challenges, or product types that you're aware of?
It's interesting. Probably luckily what's happening these days is technology is becoming more advanced. We're becoming more networkable in terms of how we do IP network product, video and audio. But also we're seeing huge advancements in beamforming, like with microphones and speakers, where we can electronically steer that particular device.
Oh, okay.
Let's say a microphone with its elements, as needed in that space. Now, that works really well. There are many technologies out there that allow you to create, let's say, a footprint of a particular environment. And that's based on the information and the technology we have. But Biamp are a firm believer that the technology shouldn't dictate where you can have a meeting. We see it the other way. The people should dictate where you have a meeting, and hence the technology should follow you. So Biamp addressed this by bringing out a beamforming microphone, which is, and I state this in strong words, a tracking microphone. So this particular device will lock onto your voice and follow you in the room. So naturally, the idea being that you walk in a room, you can stand up, you can do whatever you need to do, and you know that you'll be heard in a way that's natural on the far end or locally, but also it doesn't feel distant. The biggest problem I see that in meeting rooms is, besides the acoustics, people always sound distant.
Yes.
And the reason is because physics dictate that the best way to have a microphone is right next to your mouth.
Absolutely.
Where this technology allows you to basically follow in the room, but also dynamically lift and lower levels accordingly as needed. So if someone's shouting, if someone's quiet, it's always dynamically chasing you, which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that opens up now a realm of possibilities which weren't really there before. So if I'm a designer, such as an architect or maybe a builder, looking at workplace at the moment, I could conceivably be considering these more open spaces as video conferencing or teleconferencing spaces for small teams.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that the other things driving it too, that a lot of times we're seeing these ad hoc spaces or new enterprises having, their lighting and their ceilings are part of the architecture now.
Right.
And so sometimes you can't put products where you need to. You need to put a product where they suggest it needs to go.
Sure.
And having a product that will actually follow you in the room instead of having something that physically just covers an area has its advantages.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Jim, how can people find out more about some of these products that Biamp has to offer?
Well, I guess that we obviously do a lot of things like YouTube TV. We have a lot of fantastic articles through yourself, of course, and knowing the technology and what's being used. But the technology is available. There are showrooms here in Sydney with certain integrators, obviously with the distributor as well. But the technology, if you need to have a look at it, the best way is to listen to it. And so I probably suggest and invite anyone through yourself and others to give us a call. And we can actually set up a demonstration and you will seriously hear the difference.
And that's what we want with audio, to hear the difference. Sounds like a great plan. Well, thanks for coming in, Jim.
Appreciate it. Thank
really
you.
Appreciate your time and your expertise today. And for those watching, that's definitely the new way to design your collaboration spaces, focusing in on the audio and taking advantage of this new beamforming technology that companies like Biamp have to offer.
Thanks for having me.